The number 1 seed, the Green Bay Packers. The number 2 seed, the Green Bay Packers. The number 3 seed, the Green Bay Packers. The number 4 seed, the Green Bay Packers. Crossy Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. That's right. The Packers are going to be all the seeds. Because if we don't have a football season, I'm just going to play in Madden. And I'm going to make them be the only team. 49ers can't beat them then. Grassy. And today, we are going to be taking a look at the NFC playoff seeding predictions. Before we get to that, I want to do a big shout out and thank you to some brand new patrons and YouTube members. Starting over at the patreon.com/TomGrassi comedy front, we got Killix joining the Beer Master tier. Thank you. Still dusty. I really need to clean that. And Cleveland fan for life. After giving my condolences for the first time he became a patron, he's just like, you know what? Let's up it even more, joining the royalty tier. So a big thank you and shout out to the both of you. Over on the YouTube member front, we got Hutton Giljors again. He was a patron, but now don't call it a comeback, because, I guess you could. And you got Impala, like a Chevy Impala. I know cars. But thank you all very much for your support. It is much appreciated. So I went on the World Wide Web and did that playoff prediction thing in which I picked every single team that I thought was going to win from week to week to week to week. And I did that a few times, and I was basically coming up with the same answers, and I was like, boom, those are my answers. So let's get down to business to defeat the Huns. Starting off with the number 7 seed in the NFC, you got the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, I wasn't happy they were there either. Now, the Vikings, there's potential they take a little bit of a step back this year because of the whole defense. They had some people leaving the defensive side of the ball. They obviously had Stephon Diggs over on the offense, but then they brought in Justin Jefferson, and let's be honest, they had a kick-ass draft. So I think the Vikings will do quite all right. However, their schedule is not the easiest. Their 7 losses that I saw were against the Titans, the Seahawks, the Packers, the Bears, the Cowboys, the Buccaneers, and the Saints. Now, out of all those, I think maybe they can beat the Bears and maybe they go a little 10-6 action, but that would still put them at the number 7 seed. So just be happy you're there, Vikings. But, and listen, I said you would beat the Packers once, okay? And that is 1 times more than what you did last year. So don't say I never gave you anything. Then coming in at number 6, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with a 12-4 record, and you're probably like, who's that? How are they the number 6 seed if they are 12-4? Well, if the Saints win the division, which I have them winning the division, the next thing that they could be is the 5 or the 6 seed. So I have another team doing better than them. Math. Now, I've said during the predictions that I'm not crowning the Buccaneers yet. However, I think that they have a good shot at least making the playoffs here. So the teams that I saw them losing to were against the Saints, so I think they'll lose that first game. The Broncos, because it's at Mile High Stadium, and again, it's an early game. The Packers, that's early in the season as well. I'm also being hopeful. And the Chiefs. Everyone else, I think they have a good shot at beating. I think it's going to take a little while for that offense to kind of put it all together, and so I think they might stumble a little bit out of the gate, but then they'll pick up momentum later in the season. So I see them going at 12-4 and finishing as a 6 seed. Then heading up to the 5 seed, you got the Seattle Seahawks at 14-2. Yeah. I just want to vomit. The 2 teams I had them losing to, the Buffalo Bills and the San Francisco 49ers. Now, it's true that they could get swept, even though the Seahawks almost swept the 49ers last year, but I think the Bills will give them some problems with that defense, and on top of that, I think the 49ers obviously are one of the best teams in football, and so because, Everything I say on this episode makes me want to puke. But I think the Seahawks are going to have a good year. They should be healthy, so they'll actually have some running backs that they can utilize. Russell Wilson was playing an MVP-like form, and their defense, while never going to be back to the Legion of Boom, I think that they're going to do just enough to be competitive. And in that case, I think the Seahawks have a good shot at getting a really, really good record, and on top of that, getting that number 5 seed. Then the number 4 seed, you got the first of the division winners. You got the Green Bay Packers. We did it, guys! We did it! We're on here. Yeah. Go Pack, go. Yeah, I see them going around 11-5. That's what I predicted for them earlier on in the season. It could go anywhere for me between 12-4 and 10-6, but here I have them at 11-5. The 5 losses that I had them lose to were against the Vikings, the Lions, because let's be honest, guys, they almost beat us last year. Not the Bears, but the Lions almost did. The 49ers, the Titans, and the Saints. Now, again, I think it's possible that they win more games than that, but I feel comfortable putting them at 11-5, getting that home playoff game, and they'll be playing in the wild card. So I really hope I'm right about the playoff thing. I mean, they could win more games. That'd be nice, too. Then at number 3, you got the 13-3 Dallas Cowboys. Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I did. I know a lot of people are being like, oh, Cowboys are going to be real good this year, and we say this every single year, but I think that Mike McCarthy, with his year off coming in, has a ton of weapons for Dak Prescott. I think that offense is going to be incredible. They were really, really good statistically last year. The defense is what gives me a little bit of concern, but they might be like the 2011 Packers, except they actually have a running game on top of that as well. And so the Cowboys, the 3 games that I saw them losing were against the Seahawks, the 49ers, and the Ravens. I think that they can beat just about anybody else. Now, of course, this is going to depend on who's going to be sitting at quarterback. Is it going to be Andy Dalton or is it going to be Dak Prescott? I like to think it's going to be Dak Prescott. And again, they could always fall flat on their face. They may lose a game to the Eagles in one of those divisional games, but I think the Cowboys are going to have a really good year this year, unfortunately. Don't worry, they'll blow it in the playoffs. Then at number 2, you got the New Orleans Saints going 13-3 in this little simulation that we all live in called the Matrix. I saw them losing to the Buccaneers, the Chiefs, and the Broncos. Now, real quick, 49ers fans are already rabid at their keyboard. Go, you think you're going to lose your boy? Listen, you beat them last year. I was giving this to them, but it's one game, okay? Calm yourself down. You're still finishing at the number 1 seed, all right? Don't pack talk me or you're grounded. So the reason I think the Buccaneers is because, like I said, later in the season, I think the Buccaneers offense will be more established. The Chiefs are a really, really damn good football team. And I said the Broncos because, again, that's another game that's played at Mile High. You got an aging quarterback in Drew Brees. And I think the Broncos are going to surprise some people. Am I putting too much stock in the Broncos? Probably, but I think that the Saints should finish around 13-3, and that would be enough to get the number 2. And finally, the number 1 seed would belong to the San Francisco 49ers. Right before I started recording, it said that Deebo Samuel broke his foot and might be available at the beginning of the season, though it might take longer. So is that going to dramatically impact them? I mean, it's not going to help, but I still think that this team is going to finish number 1. I had them going 14-2, losing to the Seahawks and losing to the Saints. Now, they could lose to some other teams, obviously, but I think that those 2 will give them the most trouble. I think you have another year of Shanahan's offense. That defense, while they did lose Buckner, they're replacing him with guys like Kinlaw, and I think that offense should be as good as it was, if not better, last year. They could beat you on the ground, they could beat you through the air. So I think that these 2 teams would give them the most trouble. One, because it's in the division with the Seahawks. Who knows, maybe the Rams or the Seahawks or the Cardinals will surprise and take one and steal one of them, right? They had the Falcons game last year. But I see the 49ers finishing number 1 again, securing that bye. And so if we're going based off of these standings here, the wild card would look like the Seahawks versus the Packers, the Buccaneers versus the Cowboys, and the Vikings versus the Saints. Oh, those matchups are just delicious. Would the Saints blow it again? Can the Cowboys actually win a playoff game? And will the Packers just, fall into a pit of despair against the Seahawks again? Memories. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Am I missing a team? Do you think I have teams graded too high, too low? Let me know. You can always find me at TomGrassiComedy.com or at TomGrassiComedy on all social media. See down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout out and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrassiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. We'll do this with the AFC tomorrow. I'm Tom Grassi. And as always, Go Pack Go.